Have you ever wondered why life can feel so heavy even when you are doing everything you know how to do? You try to stay positive, you try to be patient, you tell yourself that tomorrow will be better, yet somewhere beneath those thoughts there is a quiet exhaustion. A part of you is tired of being strong. A part of you keeps asking, when will this finally become easier? Perhaps you have been waiting for the difficult season to end before allowing yourself to feel peaceful. You may believe that peace will arrive when the relationship heals, when the uncertainty disappears, when someone finally understands you, or when you know exactly what direction your life is taking. Until then, you remain tense, watching the future, hoping it will bring the relief you cannot seem to find today. But what if life is not asking you to wait for peace? What if peace is not something waiting at the end of your struggle? What if it is a presence within you that can be remembered even while the road remains uncertain? This does not mean that what you are facing is easy. It does not mean that loss should not hurt, that disappointment should not affect you, or that you should pretend to be calm when your heart feels overwhelmed. Your feelings are not failures. They are movements of energy passing through your human experience. They deserve your awareness, not your judgment. Life may not become easier immediately. Some situations take time to change. Some questions remain unanswered longer than you expected. Some people may never become who you hoped they would be. Some doors may close without giving you a clear explanation. Yet even when you cannot control what is happening around you, something within you remains untouched. There is a quiet part of you beneath the fear. It is beneath the voice that says you are falling behind. It is beneath the need to please everyone. It is beneath the memories you continue to replay and the future you keep trying to predict. This deeper self does not demand that life be perfect. It does not compare your journey with anyone else's. It simply remains present, like the sky behind passing clouds. The clouds may be dark, the storm may be real, but the sky itself is never damaged by the weather moving through it. You may have forgotten that you are the sky. For so long, you may have identified yourself with every passing storm. When anxiety appears, you say, I am anxious. When rejection occurs, you think, I am unwanted. When you feel lost, you conclude, I have no purpose. Yet these experiences are not the whole of who you are. They are temporary conditions moving through the vast awareness of your being. Perhaps your difficulty is not here to tell you that you are broken. Perhaps it is revealing where you have been searching for security outside yourself. You may have given your peace to another person and waited for them to behave differently before taking it back. You may have placed your worth in the hands of people who were unable to see you clearly. You may have believed that certainty was the same as safety, and so you tried to control every outcome, every conversation, every possible tomorrow. This is understandable. The mind wants to protect you. It studies the past so that pain will not repeat itself. It imagines the future so that nothing will surprise you. But in trying to prevent every form of discomfort, the mind can pull you away from the only place where life is actually happening, this moment. Right here, before the next answer arrives, before the situation changes, before you become certain about what comes next, there is breath moving through you. There is life supporting you without asking for your permission. There is a quiet intelligence causing your heart to beat, the seasons to turn, and the trees to reach toward the light. You do not have to understand this intelligence completely to feel its presence. Think of a river. It does not know every turn before it reaches the ocean. It moves around stones, through narrow spaces, and across unfamiliar ground. It does not interpret every obstacle as proof that it has chosen the wrong direction. It continues because flowing is its nature. You also carry a natural movement within you, yet fear may have taught you to resist that movement. You may hold tightly to what is ending because you do not yet trust what is beginning. You may remain attached to an old identity because the unknown feels more frightening than the pain you already understand. And this is where much of your suffering begins, not only in the difficulty itself, but in the belief that difficulty should not be happening. You may silently argue with reality. This person should have loved me differently. My life should be further along. I should not feel this way. I should already know what to do. These thoughts may appear reasonable, but notice what they create inside you. They turn pain into an inner battle. Acceptance does not mean saying that everything is fair. It does not mean remaining in harmful situations or denying what needs to change. Acceptance simply means that you stop fighting the fact that this moment has already arrived. From that place, something softens. You begin to see that you can respond without becoming consumed. You can feel sorrow without losing yourself inside it. You can face uncertainty without allowing fear to write the entire story. You can release what no longer belongs to you without believing that you are losing your worth. The path ahead may still ask something of you. It may ask for patience. It may ask for forgiveness. It may ask you to let go of a plan, an expectation, or a version of yourself you have outgrown. It may not be easy, but perhaps ease was never the deepest promise. Perhaps the deeper promise is that you will not walk through any experience without the presence of your true self. The wisdom you are searching for is not far away. It has been waiting beneath the noise, beneath the resistance, beneath the fearful voice that keeps insisting you must control everything before you can rest. And as you become quiet enough to hear it, a new question begins to emerge. What if this difficult season is not taking you away from yourself? What if it is guiding you home? The moment you begin to consider that possibility, you may notice another voice rising within you. It is the voice that says, "But I cannot let go. I need to know what will happen. I need this person to change. I need life to make sense before I can trust it." This voice is not your enemy. It is the frightened part of the mind that has learned to seek safety through control. It believes that if it can predict every outcome, avoid every mistake, and gain everyone's approval, you will never have to feel pain again. Yet the more tightly it tries to manage life, the more anxious life begins to feel. The ego often disguises control as responsibility. It tells you that you must think about everything constantly or something will go wrong. It convinces you that worrying is a form of preparation. You may lie awake replaying a conversation, searching for the exact moment when you said too much or not enough. You imagine what another person might be thinking. You rehearse future conversations that have not happened. Your body is in the room, but your mind is traveling through 100 imagined realities. And after all that thinking, you rarely feel safer. You simply feel tired. Awareness begins when you notice this without criticizing yourself. You do not need to fight the mind or force it to become silent. You can simply observe it with kindness. You might say inwardly, "I see that I am trying to control what has not happened yet. I see that fear is asking me to leave the present moment." In that gentle noticing, you are no longer completely trapped inside the thought. You become the awareness witnessing it. This is a quiet but profound shift. The thought may still be there, but it is no longer the whole sky. It becomes one cloud passing through your consciousness. You do not need to chase it, solve it, or build your identity around it. You can let it move. Much of the ego's power comes from being mistaken for your true voice. It speaks in your own language, so you assume it must be telling you the truth. It says, "You are not ready. You are not enough. Other people are doing better. You must prove your worth. You must not disappoint anyone." But perhaps these are not truths. Perhaps they are old messages, repeated so often that they have begun to sound familiar. You may have learned early in life that love had to be earned. Perhaps you received attention when you were helpful, quiet, successful, agreeable, or strong. Without realizing it, you may have concluded that being yourself was not enough. You learned to watch other people's faces, measure their moods, and adjust yourself so that everyone around you would remain comfortable. This can become people-pleasing. On the outside, it may look like kindness, but beneath it, there is often fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of conflict, the fear that someone's disappointment means you have done something wrong. Imagine agreeing to something when every part of you wants to say no. You smile, you accept, and you tell yourself it is easier this way. Yet later, resentment begins to grow. You feel unseen, but you have hidden yourself. You feel unappreciated, but you have given from obligation rather than love. A new perspective becomes possible when you recognize that peace does not come from preventing everyone else's discomfort. Peace comes from being honest without cruelty and loving without abandoning yourself. The ego asks, "How can I make everyone approve of me?" Your deeper self asks, "How can I remain connected to love, even when someone misunderstands me?" That does not mean becoming cold or careless. It means allowing others to have their reactions without making those reactions the measure of your worth. A tree does not stop growing because someone prefers it to be smaller. It reaches toward the light because that is its nature. You, too, may be learning to grow beyond the shape others expected you to maintain. This growth can feel uncomfortable. Some people may resist the version of you that no longer apologizes for having needs. They may prefer the old pattern because it was familiar. You may feel guilty when you begin creating boundaries, speaking honestly, or choosing rest. But guilt does not always mean you are doing something wrong. Sometimes it means you are doing something new. You can notice the guilt, breathe with it, and still remain faithful to the quiet truth within you. You do not have to attack anyone. You do not have to defend every choice. You can let your life become a gentle expression of self-respect. Comparison is another way the ego draws you away from your center. You look at someone else's life and see what appears to be certainty, happiness, beauty, connection, or purpose. Then you turn toward your own life and see only what is missing. The mind rarely compares the whole truth. It compares your private pain with another person's visible moment. It compares your unfinished season with the fruit of someone else's long and unseen journey. You may see someone entering a new relationship while you are grieving one that ended. You may see someone moving forward while you feel still. You may hear that another person has found clarity while you continue to live with questions. The ego whispers, "You are behind." But behind whom? The ocean does not accuse one wave of being late because it reaches the shore after another. Each wave belongs to the movement of the whole. Every life has its own rhythm, its own seasons, its own unfolding. Your winter does not mean that another person's spring has taken something from you. Beneath the frozen soil, life may still be gathering strength. Seeds do not appear inactive because nothing is happening. Much of their transformation occurs in darkness where no one can applaud it. Perhaps this is true of you as well. The time you think you are wasting may be teaching you how to listen. The loneliness you wish would end may be showing you where you abandoned yourself. The uncertainty you resist may be loosening an identity that had become too narrow for the life trying to emerge through you. You do not have to romanticize pain to receive its wisdom. Difficulty is not automatically sacred, and suffering is not something you must seek. But when difficulty has already entered your life, awareness allows you to meet it differently. Instead of asking only, "How can I escape this feeling?" you might ask, "What is this feeling asking me to notice?" Anxiety may be showing you how far your thoughts have traveled from the present. Jealousy may be revealing a desire you have been afraid to acknowledge. Anger may be pointing toward a boundary that has been crossed. Grief may be expressing the depth of your love. Every emotion carries energy and information, but it does not need to become your permanent home. Consider anger in a relationship. Someone says something that touches an old wound. Immediately, the ego prepares its defense. It gathers evidence from the past. It remembers every similar moment. It wants to punish, withdraw, or prove that it is right. The deeper pain may not be about the words that were spoken today. It may be the old feeling of not being heard, not being chosen, or not being safe. Awareness creates a small space between the wound and the reaction. In that space, you may recognize, this hurts because it is touching something older than this moment. That recognition does not excuse harmful behavior. It simply allows you to respond from clarity rather than from the automatic impulse to create more pain. You may choose to speak honestly. You may choose silence until you are calm. You may choose distance. You may choose forgiveness. The response will depend on the situation, but when it arises from awareness, it is less likely to deepen the wound within you. The ego wants to win the argument. Your true self wants to preserve your inner freedom. Sometimes preserving that freedom means releasing the need to be understood by someone who has already decided not to listen. You can spend years explaining your heart to a person committed to misunderstanding it. You can exhaust yourself trying to prove your innocence, your goodness, or your intentions. At some point, peace may require you to stop placing your inner life on trial. You can know what is true without forcing everyone else to agree. You can allow another person to carry their version of the story. You can release the courtroom in your mind where you repeatedly present evidence to an imaginary judge. This is not weakness. It is the recognition that your energy is sacred. What you continually think about becomes the emotional atmosphere in which you live. When resentment occupies your thoughts, the person who hurt you may not feel anything, but your body carries the tension. Your sleep is disturbed. Your heart becomes guarded. The past continues, entering the present through your attention. The ego says, "Do not let go," because letting go means they won. But healing is not a contest. Letting go does not declare another person right. It declares that the past will no longer control the quality of your inner world. The same is true of the need to control the future. Fear imagines that uncertainty is a dark, empty space, but uncertainty is also where new possibilities live. If every detail were already decided, there would be no room for surprise, healing, redirection, or grace. Think of walking through a forest at dawn. You may only see a few steps ahead. The entire path is not illuminated, but the light you have is enough for this moment. As you move, more of the path becomes visible. Life often works this way. You may not receive the full answer because you do not need the full answer yet. You may only need enough clarity for the next honest step. The ego resists this. It wants guarantees before it moves. It says, "Show me the whole road, and then I will trust." Your deeper self begins to understand that trust is moving gently with the light already available. Perhaps you are waiting to know your purpose. You may believe there is one perfect role, relationship, or direction that will make everything fall into place. You keep searching for a grand sign while overlooking the quieter invitations around you. Purpose may not always arrive as a dramatic revelation. It may appear as the love you bring into an ordinary conversation. It may be the patience you offer someone who is struggling. It may be the courage to live honestly after years of hiding. It may be the peace you cultivate within yourself and quietly carry into the lives of others. The ego wants purpose to make you important. The soul may experience purpose as a way of being present. When you release the need for your life to look extraordinary, you begin to notice the sacredness of what is already here. Washing a cup, listening without interrupting, sitting beside someone who is grieving, walking beneath the evening sky, breathing before responding in anger. These moments may seem small, but life is made of them. Awareness transforms them because it brings you back into relationship with what is real. It reminds you that peace is not found by escaping ordinary life, but by entering it more fully. You may still feel afraid. Awareness does not erase every fear. It changes your relationship with fear. Instead of treating fear as a prophecy, you begin to see it as a sensation, a thought, a protective response. Fear may say, "Something terrible will happen." Awareness answers softly, "Something uncertain is happening, and I am here." Fear may say, "You cannot handle this." Awareness reminds you, "I do not need to handle the whole future in this moment." Fear may say, "You are alone." Awareness invites you to feel the life within you, the breath supporting you, and the quiet presence that has remained through every season you once thought you would never survive. You have already passed through days that felt impossible, not because you controlled everything, but because something within you continued. Perhaps that something is deeper than personality, deeper than thought, and deeper than fear. It is the loving intelligence of life expressing itself through you. You do not need to name it perfectly. You may call it the source, spirit, divine presence, consciousness, or simply love. The name matters less than the experience of remembering that you are not separate from it. The ego thrives on separation. It tells you that you are alone against the world, that life is withholding something from you, and that everyone else possesses what you lack. But when you become still, even briefly, you may sense that you are part of something larger. Like a wave remembering it belongs to the ocean, you begin to understand that your strength does not come only from the small self trying to manage everything. It comes from your connection with the life moving through all things. From this awareness, control can begin to soften into cooperation. Comparison can soften into gratitude. Fear can soften into curiosity. You no longer need every experience to be easy. You begin asking whether it can make you more awake, more compassionate, and more honest. And slowly, the question changes. Instead of asking, "Why is life making this so difficult?" you begin to ask, "Who am I when I stop allowing difficulty to take me away from love?" This question leads you beyond the ego's familiar patterns. It leads you toward the self that does not need to prove, perform, control, or compete. It leads you toward the quiet center that has been present all along. The road may not become easy, but you may begin to discover that you are not walking it as the frightened person you once believed yourself to be. And when you begin to see that something important becomes possible, you no longer have to spend all your energy trying to become stronger than life. You can begin learning how to move with life. There is a difference between surrender and defeat. Defeat says nothing can change and I have no power. Surrender says, I will stop fighting what has already happened so I can meet this moment with clarity. Surrender does not ask you to approve of pain. It does not ask you to remain where you are being harmed. It does not ask you to silence your needs or abandon your wisdom. It simply asks whether your resistance is helping you heal or keeping you tied to what you cannot change. Perhaps someone left without giving you the explanation you needed. You may have replayed the ending many times, searching for a sentence that would make it hurt less. You imagine what you should have said. You wonder whether you were too much or not enough. You hope the past might reveal one final answer if you think about it long enough. But the mind cannot always think its way into peace. Sometimes peace begins when you allow the unanswered question to remain unanswered. You stop asking the person who wounded you to become the source of your healing. You stop waiting for an apology before giving yourself permission to move forward. This is where forgiveness becomes deeply misunderstood. Forgiveness is not saying that what happened did not matter. It is not pretending that betrayal was acceptable or that your pain was unnecessary. Forgiveness is the gradual release of your emotional dependence on the past. You forgive so that your life energy can return to you. Imagine holding a burning coal because you believe dropping it would allow someone else to escape responsibility. The longer you hold it, the more it burns your own hand. Releasing it does not change what the other person did. It changes what you continue doing to yourself. There may be days when forgiveness feels natural and days when the wound returns. Healing rarely moves in a straight line. You may feel free in the morning and angry again by evening. This does not mean you have failed. It may simply mean that another layer is asking to be seen. You can meet that layer without shame. You might place a hand over your heart and quietly admit, this still hurts. There is great tenderness in telling the truth without turning it into a permanent identity. You can honor the pain without building your home inside it. Forgiveness may begin not with affection, but with willingness. The willingness to stop rehearsing revenge. The willingness to stop carrying the other person into every new relationship. The willingness to release the version of yourself that remains frozen in the moment of injury. And perhaps the first person you need to forgive is yourself. You may look back at choices made from fear, loneliness, or confusion. You may judge yourself for staying too long, trusting too quickly, speaking harshly, or abandoning your own needs. The mind says you should have known better. But the person you were then did not possess the awareness you have now. You were responding with the understanding available to you in that season. Perhaps you were trying to find love in the only way you knew. Perhaps you were protecting a wound you had not yet recognized. Perhaps you believed survival required becoming someone you were never meant to be. Self-forgiveness does not remove responsibility. It transforms responsibility into wisdom. Instead of asking, how can I punish myself for what I did? You begin asking, how can I live differently because of what I now understand? A seed does not hate itself for having once been buried in darkness. The darkness was part of its beginning. It pressed against the soil until something within it remembered the direction of the light. You also contain that remembering. Your true self is not created by perfection. It is revealed through awareness. It becomes visible whenever you choose honesty over performance, compassion over judgment, and presence over fear. This is why intention matters. Intention is not about demanding that the universe obey your personal plan. It is the inner quality you choose to bring into your experience. You may not control what the day gives you, but you can become conscious of what you are willing to give the day. You can enter a difficult conversation with the intention to remain honest and kind. You can face uncertainty with the intention to stay present. You can move through grief with the intention to keep your heart open, even if it opens slowly. The ego sets intentions around outcomes. It says, this must go my way. The deeper self sets intentions around alignment. It says, whatever happens, may I not abandon love. This does not mean you will always feel loving. There may be moments when anger rises, fear takes over, or old patterns return. Alignment is not a permanent state you achieve. It is a relationship you keep returning to. Like a compass needle disturbed by movement, you may lose your direction for a moment. Yet when you become still, it points home again. Stillness allows you to hear what fear often covers. You do not need hours of silence or a perfect place to practice it. Stillness may be one conscious breath before answering a message. It may be sitting in your car for a minute before entering your home. It may be turning off the noise and listening to the evening rain. In stillness, you begin to notice that life is not only the story in your mind, there is a deeper rhythm beneath the story. Your breath rises and falls. Sounds appear and disappear. Sensations move through the body. Nothing remains fixed. This can become a quiet lesson in letting go. The breath enters without being forced and leaves without being held. If you tried to keep every breath, life would become impossible. Living requires receiving and releasing. Relationships also have seasons. Identities have seasons. Dreams have seasons. Some are meant to be nurtured. Some are meant to change form. Some are meant to be blessed and released. You may be trying to hold a season that has already ended. Perhaps you are aging and grieving the person you used to be. Your body has changed. Time feels faster. Certain possibilities seem farther away. The ego may tell you that your value is disappearing because youth is passing. Yet a tree is not less sacred in autumn than it is in spring. Its beauty changes. Its purpose deepens. It no longer offers blossoms, but it offers shade, strength, and the quiet wisdom of having survived many storms. Aging can become an invitation to release the identity built around appearance, approval, and endless becoming. It can guide you toward the question, who am I when I no longer need to impress the world? Perhaps you are not losing your life. Perhaps you are being invited into a more intimate relationship with it. You may notice simple things more deeply. Morning light on a wall, the sound of someone you love laughing, the warmth of a cup held between your hands. These moments were always present, but urgency may have kept you from receiving them. Gratitude does not deny what is missing. It awakens you to what is still here. You can grieve and be grateful in the same breath. You can miss someone and still feel the life that remains. You can wish a situation were different while recognizing the small forms of grace moving through the day. Gratitude becomes most transformative when it is not used to silence pain. It is not a command to be positive. It is a gentle widening of awareness. Pain may occupy one part of the sky, but it is not the entire sky. There is still light somewhere. There is still breath. There is still the possibility of giving and receiving love. Love, in this deeper sense, is not only an emotion between people, it is the energy of connection. It is what allows you to see another person without immediately turning them into a threat, a tool, or a judge. It is what allows you to meet yourself with tenderness when you are not at your best. Fear contracts. Love creates space. Fear says, protect yourself by closing. Love says, protect your heart without becoming a closed heart. You may need boundaries. You may need to leave. You may need to say no. Love does not require access without respect. Sometimes the most loving choice is distance, because distance allows resentment to stop growing. The difference lies in the inner energy behind the choice. You can leave from hatred, carrying the battle with you, or you can leave with clarity, blessing what was learned and refusing to continue what causes harm. This kind of love is quiet. It does not always look gentle from the outside. Sometimes love is a closed door. Sometimes it is an honest sentence. Sometimes it is refusing to participate in an old pattern. But when love guides the decision, your heart does not need to become cruel in order to become free. Trust grows from this same place. Trust is not the belief that nothing painful will happen. Life has already shown you that change, loss, and uncertainty are part of being human. Trust is the understanding that no experience can remove the deepest essence of who you are. The wave may rise and fall, but it never stops belonging to the ocean. You may lose a role, but you do not lose your being. You may lose a relationship, but you do not lose your capacity to love. You may lose a plan, but you do not lose the intelligence that can guide you toward another path. Trust says, I may not know what comes next, but I do not have to face the unknown as an enemy. There may be wisdom unfolding beyond what your present mind can see. Think of a garden in winter. From the surface, it may appear empty, yet beneath the soil, roots remain alive. The gardener does not dig them up every morning to check whether growth is still happening. There is a season for action and a season for waiting. You may be in a season where the inner work is invisible. You are learning not to chase those who do not choose you. You are learning to pause before reacting. You are learning to stop speaking to yourself with the voice of people who once diminished you. No one may applaud these changes, yet they are changing the direction of your life. Inner transformation often begins quietly. One day, you notice that something which once destroyed your peace no longer controls the entire day. You still feel it, but you recover more gently. You speak to yourself differently. You do not chase every thought to its darkest conclusion. This is healing, not the absence of all pain, but the return of choice within pain. You begin to realize that your spiritual path is not about escaping your humanity. It is about bringing awareness into it. You do not become less human. You become less afraid of being human. You allow tears without believing they make you weak. You allow uncertainty without calling yourself lost. You allow joy without fearing that it will be taken away. And as resistance softens, life begins to feel less like a problem to solve and more like a relationship to enter. You listen more carefully. You notice where your body tightens. You notice when the ego wants to prove, compare, blame, or defend. You do not condemn these movements. You recognize them and return. You return to breath. You return to love. You return to the source within you. This return may happen 100 times in one day. That is not failure. That is practice. Each return strengthens your memory of who you truly are. You are not becoming someone new. You are releasing what kept you from recognizing the peaceful presence that was always there. And from that presence, even difficulty begins to change its meaning. It may still hurt. It may still ask for courage. It may still lead you through unfamiliar places. But it no longer has the power to convince you that you are separate from life. You begin to feel the quiet truth beneath every changing season. You are held by the same source that moves the river, opens the flower, and carries the stars through the night. You have never been outside of it. You only forgot, and perhaps remembering is the real beginning of peace. Not because every problem disappears, but because you stop asking the problem to tell you who you are. You no longer allow one difficult season to become the definition of your entire life. You begin to see that beneath every changing circumstance, there is a quiet presence within you that remains whole. The road may still be uncertain. Some relationships may remain unresolved. Some losses may continue to ache. Some mornings may feel heavier than others. Yet you can meet these experiences differently. You can stop demanding that life become easy before you become present. You can begin the day with a few moments of stillness. Before reaching for the noise of the world, you can notice your breath. You can feel the body resting where it is. You can allow the first thought of the morning to be gentle. Perhaps you quietly say, "Today I do not need to control everything. I only need to remain connected to what is true within me." This simple intention can change the quality of your day. It does not guarantee that nothing difficult will happen. It reminds you that difficulty does not have to remove you from yourself. As the day unfolds, awareness may become your quiet companion. You may notice when the mind begins creating stories. You may notice the urge to compare, please, defend, or predict. Instead of criticizing yourself, you can pause. You can ask, is this thought bringing me closer to peace or pulling me deeper into fear? Not every fearful thought needs an answer. Some thoughts only need space to pass. Like leaves floating down a river, they can move through your awareness without becoming instructions. You do not have to follow every thought into the future. You can return to what is here, your breath, your body, the next honest step. Gratitude can also become a gentle return. Not gratitude as a performance and not as a way of denying what hurts. Gratitude as a willingness to notice what pain has not taken from you. There may still be sunlight entering the room. There may still be someone whose presence brings warmth. There may still be music, silence, trees, laughter, or the simple gift of another breath. When you notice these things, you are not pretending that life is easy. You are remembering that life is larger than the difficulty you are facing. Forgiveness may become another daily practice. You may not be ready to release everything at once, but perhaps you can loosen your grip a little. You can forgive yourself for not knowing then what you understand now. You can forgive yourself for the days when fear spoke louder than love. You can forgive yourself for being human. And when thoughts of someone who hurt you return, you can gently choose not to feed the wound. You can say, I release the need to carry this pain into every new moment. You may need to repeat this many times. Each repetition is not evidence that forgiveness failed. It is evidence that you are continuing to choose freedom. Trust may also need to be practiced in small ways. You may not be able to trust the entire future, but you can trust the next breath. You may not know where the path leads, but you can trust your ability to pause, listen, and respond when the next step appears. A river does not carry the entire journey at once. It moves through one bend, one stone, one opening at a time. Your life can be lived this way. One conversation, one decision, one moment of honesty, one act of love. You do not need to become spiritually perfect. You do not need to remain peaceful at all times. You only need to remember that peace is available whenever you stop fighting yourself. There will be moments when you forget. You may become reactive. You may return to old patterns. You may spend hours inside fear before noticing what has happened. When you notice, return gently. Do not turn your awakening into another reason to judge yourself. The return is always available. The source within you does not withdraw its presence because you became afraid. The sky does not reject a cloud for passing through it. You are allowed to begin again. You can begin again in the middle of an argument. You can begin again after a difficult year. You can begin again after making a choice you regret. You can begin again without waiting for a perfect Monday, a new season, or the approval of anyone else. Beginning again may simply mean choosing one peaceful thought where there was once only fear. Over time, these small returns begin to change the atmosphere of your inner life. You become less interested in winning every battle and more interested in protecting your peace. You become less dependent on being understood and more willing to understand yourself. You stop asking, how can I make life obey me? You begin asking, how can I remain aligned with love while life unfolds? This is where inner freedom begins. Freedom is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the absence of complete dependence on certainty. It is knowing that even when the outcome is unknown, your deepest self remains present. You may still feel sadness, but sadness no longer means you are broken. You may still experience fear, but fear no longer becomes your guide. You may still face endings, but you begin to recognize that endings are often the hidden doorway to another form of life. The tree releases its leaves without knowing exactly what spring will bring. It trusts the wisdom of the season. Perhaps you can offer yourself the same trust. Life may not be easy. It may continue to ask you to grow, release, forgive, and begin again. But you no longer need an easy life to know a peaceful heart. You carry the peace you have been seeking. It has been beneath the noise, beneath the struggle, beneath the identity built from fear. It has been waiting in the quiet place where your true self meets the source. And when you remember this, gratitude begins to rise naturally. You become grateful not for every painful event, but for the awareness that carried you through it. You become grateful that love remained available. You become grateful that even after disappointment, your heart still knows how to open. You realize that the difficult road did not destroy you. It removed some of what was never truly you. And now, perhaps more softly than before, you can hear the wisdom that was within you all along. You are not lost. You are returning. You are not becoming worthy. You are remembering your worth. You are not waiting for peace. You are learning to live from it. If this reflection touched something within you, share what you are learning to release in the comments. And subscribe for more quiet spiritual journeys into awareness, healing, and the truth of who you already are. The road ahead may not be easy, but you do not have to walk it in fear. You can walk it in presence. You can walk it in trust. You can walk it in love. And that changes everything.